Once upon a time I was falling in love. Now I'm only falling apart. Nothing I can do. Total eclipse of the heart.
Stardate 1995. Point 11. Riding on the coattails of every other space-themed rail shooter in existence in this port of a Panasonic 3DO title, we seem to have run out of Doritos and Mountain Dew and need to go to the intergalactic 7-Eleven to acquire our gaming fuel. Suddenly, Total Eclipse Turbo transmitted a lengthy and uninspired cardboard cutout of a story for me to watch. Captain Codito, Alex.
Game's a fucking space shooter. What else do you want me to say? Total Eclipse Turbo. The story goes like this. Something, 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 and then Cthulhu shows up, so we're just gonna shoot a bunch of shit. And you guessed it, folks, we're here to save the world.
I just want to tell you both good luck. We're all counting on you.
Crystal Dynamics were a company. But not just any company. They were a video game company. At the time, they were most notable for releasing games on the 3DO, such as Gex and, Total Eclipse. What the hell do you want from me? The original version was released in January of 1994, but the PlayStation version, which is called Total Eclipse Turbo, was released as a launch title on September the 9th, 1995. And since I'm recording this part of the review on September the 9th, 2023, I just want to say, happy 28th birthday, North American Sony PlayStation. Way to make me feel old as dirt. And by dirt, I mean shit. Anyway, the only difference between the original Total Eclipse and Total Eclipse Turbo is that the graphics are improved on the PlayStation version, and the explosions don't look like something out of a horrible, horrible, horrible Flash cartoon. It's time for Cody Johnson's Video Game Encyclopedia.
More shit from the bogus captain.
Rail Shooter. This is from every high school teacher's favorite website, Wikipedia. A rail shooter is a type of action-based video game. In a rail shooter, the player control is limited to directing where to fire a virtual gun or move their avatar around the screen. The player does not control the path their avatar takes from the start to the end, although they may be able to pause that movement. Total Eclipse Turbo is a rail shooter. Your ship moves forward, but as the player, you control its pace by pressing circle for a slower speed and square to accelerate. In almost every game I've ever played for the PlayStation, square breaks, so when I'm flying through a tight corridor and want to slow down, I forget that square speeds my craft up and I crash and I die. The game is broken down into levels that are divided into 4 rounds each. The first 3 rounds are just standard shoot 'em ups, and the 4th round is more of the same with a boss battle at the very end. If you know what you're doing, you can beat this entire game within an hour. In fact, the first 2 levels are pretty easy. I'm getting the feeling that Total Eclipse Turbo is a game made for the casual gamer. However, when I got to level 3, everything changed. The game is fairly generous as there are several lives and continues to help aid the player through the story mode. Not to mention that there are plenty of spots to snag even more lives. But there's a good reason for the generosity. It's because it's hard. It's hard! It's so hard!
Not that there's anything wrong with that.
Well, the enemies really don't change all that much, but you'll notice that their firepower changes colors as we progress. And that is because the different colors represent different levels of damage counters. See, for instance, in the beginning of the game, the enemy ships shoot yellow trajectory, which hurts a little bit, it's kind of like a flick on the skin, but later they shoot the red trajectory. It's basically deadly to the touch. Our life meter on the top right-hand side of the screen is more accurately described as an energy meter, because not only does it decrease when we take damage, but also when we move forward, which sounds but there is something that makes this problem not such a big deal. Whenever you kill an enemy, you automatically receive an energy boost. So although the player doesn't have to kill everything on the screen, it's actually quite rewarding to do so. Die, die, die! What? Getting back to our ship. If you press and hold R1 or L1, our ship will roll, which is a good way to avoid enemy fire and disorientate the ever-loving out of the player all at the same time. On a more positive note, there are tons of ammunition upgrades, and it seems to me that they are accumulative. So if you grab 2 upgrades, you get
even more firepower!
If the amount of enemies gets out of control, the player can press triangle and use a plasma bomb to eliminate everything on the screen. This is such a satisfying way to take out the trash. But we only have so many on our disposal, so I suggest conserving them for the boss. The good news is that if we die, we reset to having a full stock of 3 of those bad boys once again. There are 2 phases of screens in the game, and they are the planetary terrain portions, which give the player a breadth of space but also the most enemies. Then there are the claustrophobic tunnel portions, which have the player flying through a teeny little cramped space where precise control and perfect timing are the only way to survive. As someone who sucks ass at playing video games, the inverted controls are starting to piss me off. Up is down, down is up, square is speed, and I mean, what the f***? In the last stages of the game, the player must exercise patience, as the corridors in which we travel are only passable with pure trial and error. Many lives will be lost as we go down the wrong pathways only to find out, bam, dead end, bam, dead end, bam, 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 mother tits. The bosses aren't all that special, and that goes for the last boss as well. Total Eclipse Turbo looked pretty stellar for the time and featured a pretty rockin' soundtrack. But it's just so painfully average in every way imaginable that I can't possibly give it anything more than a C. Next time, we'll talk about the last launch title,